Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. Now today I thought I would do a video that's a little bit different. It's one that we used to do back in the day. I've not done one of these for a while. I used to do news and announcement videos when I had a bit more time to dedicate to the channel. And I've not done one of those for quite a while now. Now I wanted to do this for two reasons. The first one is because quite a lot has actually come out in recent times or is in the process of coming out. So I just wanted to quickly go over that. One of the themes, I guess, of this channel for the last couple of years is we've been waiting with bated breath for the next Black Powder book to come out. And I've thought to myself, it's a little bit negative. We've been concentrating on what's not happening while there's been an absolute ton of stuff that has been coming out. So I thought we'd have a quick look over that. Additionally, I thought it was there's quite a few things that have come out that are usable for different things, particularly from the Perrys. We'll talk more about them in a bit. And then finally, I thought we'd have a quick look at the state of the game. So not just Black Powder, but Napoleonic Wargaming in general. So where better to start than, of course, with the big dog, with the Perrys. Now, they have released, if you've seen last week's video, you will know that they have released a range, or the start of a range of Revolutionary Wars French. Now, there's plenty to be getting along with there, but I'm sure they will expand out the range to things like cavalry and some of those more obscure units as well, maybe even some separate models for the Republic of Batavia, but we'll see. They have also announced the pre-order of their plastic Spanish. Now, this is an interesting one. They announced it quite a long time ago. They did some previews, and then all was quiet. But it's nice to see them finally being released. Now, they're doing their usual, if you buy 3 boxes, you get a special figure. And this one is La Romana, who was arguably the best Spanish commander. He was the one who, he and his troops were sent to Denmark, and they were trained and equipped by the French. They went to Denmark, they were flipped, the British brought them back, and it was assumed that the Marquis de la Romana was going to help with the rebellion, I guess you'd say, against the French, which to an extent he did. His troops were less useful than he was, let's put it that way. But so you get him free, so that's quite good because you can use him for either side. And the Spanish you can also use for either side. Now, the Spanish are interesting in of themselves. They're a really interesting faction. They've got loads of different coloured uniforms, which are really, really nice. Some of them are quite outrageous. The bearskin type hats that the Grenadiers wear, really nice, very unique. You used to be able to get transfers for the back of them, the bit that hangs down. I'm not sure if you still can, but you definitely used to be able to. Now, the most exciting part of the Spanish boxes for me, however, is the Spanish head sprue, as weird as that sounds. And that is because you get a number of different head options on there, including, and I'm going to go back to our sort of early war period here, including the bicorns. Now, there is actually, the Perrys have put a picture out of you using those bicorn heads on some of their French infantry, their mid-war French, and they work really, really well. You can absolutely use them as, certainly 1808, 1809. I see no reason that you couldn't use them for 1805 as well. I think they'd be perfectly reasonable. And you know what? I'd use them even earlier than that. I would use them for the Revolutionary Wars. So I think we'll be doing a getting started on the Spanish, a new one, and I think we'll be doing getting started the French Revolutionary Wars as well. These bicorns you could also attach to some cuirassiers, and they will give you early cuirassiers. So overall, a really, really good set, and the heads you can buy separately from, it's always worth checking out the accessories, and then the plastic range. The heads are £2.50 for a sprue, and you get, I think, 8 or 10 bicorn heads on there. I think it's 8 bicorn heads on there, and you get the Shakos with the weird side plume as well. I'm sure you can use those for something. I don't know what off the top of my head, but I'm sure there is a use for those as well. Maybe light infantry, perhaps? Not 100% sure about that. Now, speaking of the mid-war, we come to Kickstarter. Now, some of you may be happy using Kickstarter, some of you may not, and that's fair enough. Now, I have to say, I have backed one of this chap's Kickstarters before, and I haven't backed this one yet, but I may well be. It is Raphael Polkowski and his Napoleonic Saxons. Now, he's already done the infantry as a Kickstarter, and I didn't back that one. So the reason why I'm slightly hesitant is because I'm going to have to do the cavalry, which is this current one, and the infantry as well. And it's just, I've only got so much room in my hobby budget. That said, this is a fantastic thing to look at. He's got the Saxons coming from 1806 to 1815 as well. So he's got early, I guess you could say, in their Proto-Prussian uniforms down to the late ones. Now, I really, really like these. Some of you may know I'm a big fan of the Saxon Garde du Corps and the Zastro Cuirassiers. Now, as it currently stands, I don't think they have been unlocked yet. They are stretch goals. So we may see them, we may not. But there's some lovely other stuff to look at as well. Now, the Perrys do a range of 1806 Saxons, which is very useful. But, of course, if you have access to a printer, this is a much cheaper way of being able to get hold of a larger army. Although, I must say the Perrys aren't particularly egregious. But, those costs do add up. So, £10 for 3 cavalry, or I think it's £8 for 6 infantry. They are remarkably good value, but that price does mount up, and if you can get them printed, then I think that's a pretty good deal. Now, they are going for, let me have a look, €69 for the cavalry, and €79 for the infantry and artillery. So if you've already got the infantry and artillery, or you're not bothered, it's only going to cost you around about £60, which is 6 packs of Perry cavalry. So for the price of quick maths, 24 cavalrymen. Is that right? 6, 12, no, 18. Oh dear, for 18 cavalrymen, you can get the files to print as many as you like. So definitely a good one there. However, one slight caveat, I would say. They used to be rather large. I have his winter dress poles, and I think I've got the infantry as well, actually. And they were more 32mm than 28mm. So just a word of warning, if you are going to print them for Wargaming, just check the size first. They may need resizing, although I did hear that he has resized them to 28mm. So on that one, I would say just do a couple of test pieces first, I would suggest. On a slight tangent here, there is also a Kickstarter currently running by Studio Historia. Now, I really like their stuff. I backed both their US Marines and their World War II Japanese. I missed their World War II British, which was a bit annoying. But they are doing Sundered Union. That is their American Civil War range. So that is currently on the Kickstarter. There's only 6 days to go as of broadcast for this one. The Saxon army has only just begun. We've only just begun. Bit of 60s music for them. And they have, how long do they have still to go? They have 16 days to go. So there's a couple of weeks plus change to go for them. Now, I'm trying to think. That's a dangerous time for me. Let's see. I may end up succumbing to the joys of the Saxons. Now, just finished was another Kickstarter. Now, sometimes Kickstarters allow late pledges. I haven't checked, so let's find out together. I am a horrible liar. It hasn't just finished. It is still active. That's really good news. Now, it's only going to be active for another 24 hours from when this goes live. So make sure, if you're interested, you get your bids in. And it is for the Army of Russia, 1809 to 1814. And that is by Vincenzo and Damiani Avanti Miniatures. Now, I have to say, these are a new company to me. They look to be rather nice, I have to say. They've got the Grenadiers. They've got everything that you would expect. Let me see what they've got. They've got £2,800 or dollars or something, which I think means that their stretch goals have been largely largely missed, to be honest. We've got the Jaegers done, but the Streltsky are not done. So that's a bit of a shame. But they are there for you. So check that out on Kickstarter as well. Vincenzo and Damiano Avanti miniatures. Now, I must confess, I have not pledged this one. And that is because I already have a set of Russians to print. And to be perfectly honest, I already have a rather large Russian army as it is, including about 100 infantry that are looking at me right now, or the box that they're in is looking at me right now. They've all been sprayed green, and that's as far as I've got with them. So I've said that. I mean, that's only, what, three and a bit battalions? So, yeah, you know. But yes, there's another one to look out for, but be very quick on that one. There is only 24 hours to go. They're an Australian company. There's only 24 hours to go on those, so check those out as well. So that covers Kickstarter for now, I believe. Someone's going to be screaming at me, telling me that I've missed a really good one, aren't they? If you know of a good Kickstarter that's running at the moment, then stick it in the comments down below. So we are going to look at a Napoleonic adjacent release, which some people thought I was going to talk about last week, because I was talking about the Revolution. And for our American brethren, the Revolution is, of course, the American Revolutionary War, or as we call it, the American War of Independence. And they have just come out in epic scale from Warlord Games. Now, this is an interesting release for the Napoleonic gamer, because obviously the uniforms are not that similar to Napoleonic ones. However, remember, they are teeny tiny, so you know you can probably get away with some. Now, the ones that I would strongly recommend that you could very easily get away with, actually, are the militia. The American militia would make very good either American or particularly Canadian militia for the Napoleonic period. So if you were to get your Napoleonic Waterloo troops and you were to paint them up as Americans, like someone may do, then these would be a really good source for getting troops that you could use as a militia. Now, in the box, you get 3. This is in the big box. You get 6 battalions of militia, 2 battalions of line, and then some units of light cavalry as well. Now, the light cavalry you could probably use as local provincials, particularly for the Americans. Something like the New York provincials or something like that. They could go really, really well. And the militia, as I say, you can use for both sides, both Americans and British. There's not many tricorns in there. Now, for me, this is probably a personal thing, but for me, I see tricorns, I think American War of Independence or 7 Years' War. The lack of them, they tend to be more like round hats and coonskin hats and stuff like that. That, for me, is a positive. That's a good thing, because it takes it away from that period and can be used more Napoleonically. I don't really have any interest in collecting this period, I have to say, although I do think it's a good one for epic battles, because the battles were pretty small, particularly compared to Napoleonic ones. So you could probably do the full battle on a reasonably size. You look at something like a 6x12, you could probably do some of the whole battle, like Guildford Courthouse or something like that. You could probably do on one table, almost 1-to-1. Not figures-wise, but unit-wise anyway. And of course it makes sense because Warlord have got a supplement for the Revolutionary War as well. So it makes sense for them to do it. I think it's a good move for them. Again, I'm a little surprised. I probably would have gone for 7 Years' War. But, you know, they're obviously can see a market there. So fair play to them. I also want to give a shout out to a company that I've only discovered fairly recently. And that is Battle Honours 3D. Now, again, this is another digital sculptor. I understand there are people out there who don't like digital sculpts. I slightly apologise to you because, obviously, you know, if this is not your thing, that's not your thing. But on the other hand, I do think this is the future. For instance, talking about the Russian army of 1808 to 1812, that's an Australian company. Now, Eureka Miniatures is an Australian company. Their cavalrymen are £5 each. For the cost of 10 of those, less than a unit, you can get the files to print all of your cavalry. So, I can understand why people are against it, But I think in this case, I think it is going to be the future. And one such example is this fantastic set here of Napoleon and 2 ADCs. This one, I'm looking at 28mm with the supports removed. I don't understand why people ship models with supports. It's really, really irritating because it means I've queued them with the supports on. I'm going to move on before I get more annoyed. This is £10.95, so it's £1 more than the Perrys would charge. Again, as I said before, the Perrys are beyond reasonable. But what a fantastic set of models they are. Really, really nice. I don't think you can really criticise them too much. Sure, they're all facing the same way. That would be the only problem I've got with it, is they're all facing the same way. But they do a really nice a nice range of different stuff. There's a nice dragoon holding some horses. I will definitely be picking him up at some point. They do some nice individual figures as well. French colonels, French mounted colonels, things like that. And they're just really nice. I'm just a big fan of them, I have to say. So this is Battle Honours 3D. Definitely check them out. I would, if you're ordering resin models, if you have the option to get them with supports removed, pay the extra, get the supports removed. It may not matter too much on things like cavalrymen, because they're pretty large models, but something like infantry or something that you think might be slightly more detailed, then it's probably worth the extra money. I've just been doing some 6mm epic scale Tyrannid mini bugs, some Gaunts and Hormagaunts, and good lord alive, I would pay someone to get all the supports off them for me. I absolutely would. But there you go. So that is another option as well. Don't forget Etsy, which is where these are available from. Really nice, and it's a good, you can waste a good afternoon looking at what availability they have. I should state as well that any of the Kickstarters or anything like that I've mentioned, you can probably find most of those on Etsy as well. They're obviously going to be more expensive than buying the files and printing them yourself, but if you see something that's really nice digitally, and you don't have a printer, then you can still get hold of it. In fact, one of the driving factors to me buying my first printer was seeing the Reconquer miniatures figures in the flesh. And I wanted to do an army or 2 armies of them. So I thought to myself, it's going to be cheaper to buy a printer, and the rest, as they say, is history. So that's a quick roundup of what has come out for the Napoleonic hobby recently. And what I wanted to spend the rest of this video looking at is, where do we think the hobby is at the moment? This is a good time to take stock because we've had Christmas has come over. We've got the new year in. We've finished the financial year, so now's when companies start looking ahead. What are they going to produce for this summer and this coming autumn? And of course, it is Salute soon as well. Now, for better or worse, I'm not a massive fan of Salute, I have to say. I know there are those that are. I find it a little soulless, if I'm honest. But yeah, that's fine. I mean, people very much enjoy it. And that is coming up soon. So a lot of wargaming companies, they make announcements for Salute. For instance, the Spanish that I said, they are available for Salute. Gringo 40s is doing a set of rules for, I think it's for the Northwest Frontier or the Boxer Rebellion or something like that. They've said that that's coming out for Salute. So Salute seems to be the time when people want stuff to come out. And what are we seeing for the Napoleons? Well, we've been through what's coming out, but what about going forward? Well, there's still no word on the Black Powder book coming for 1813, as was initially suggested. So does that mean that Warlord Games have forgotten about Napoleonics? Well, I think and hope not. We had the whole range of Epic, obviously, came out recently. I'm curious in the comments. Let me know if you play Epic or you know people who do or are collecting armies for it. I was hoping to run an Epic event towards the end of the year at Boards and Swords, similar to Under Eagles to Glory, but for Epic size and Waterloo themed. Let me know if that's something that you would be interested in attending, or you would attend if you could. Or let me know if you don't have the armies and you're not interested in epic scale. I'm really interested to find out. Please let me know in the comments, because this could be whether we actually run the event or not. Obviously, it's got to have a certain number of attendees in order to be profitable for the store. So that's where that comes in. So let me know if you would come to one of those. But Yeah, so we had all the epic stuff, and we've received nothing really since. We had the 2 units of the one of French, the one of British, but that's really it. And there are some large gaps in Warlord's range, which, to be fair, have been filled by other manufacturers. So a very obvious one to me would be there's no Russian cavalry. The Perrys now do Russian cavalry, and to be honest, their cavalry is always better than Warlord. So it's not necessarily the end of the world, but it's just worth pointing out that there are gaps in their ranges. So they may fill them, or we may see this 1813, or perhaps another book when it comes out. Now, one thing I will say on the book is I haven't heard anything, as you well know. I have no inside track at Warlord. However, I am cautiously optimistic that we'll see the book sooner rather than later. I say this because there has recently been quite a flurry of book releases from Warlord. We've had the Wars of the Roses. We've had The Age of Arthur. We've had the Samurai book as well. Those have all come out in the last few months. Maybe in the last 4 or 5 months. We've had the Bolt Action Armies of Germany. We're just about to see Bolt Action Armies of America, or that might already be out, I'm not sure. So we've had 5 of their source books in the last, say, 6 months. Now, one thing I will say is the quality of them. Now, many of you will know that I am the first one to criticise many of Warlord games as figures. The quality of their books, however, is absolutely phenomenal. I've recently got the Samurai book. I've got quite a large Samurai army from the E clan. So the Samurai book, I've got by the cover. So the Samurai book is probably the least good of the new ones that have come out. I have to say, I thought it was good, a little bit disappointed. The Wars of the Roses one was very, very good. The Age of Arthur one was absolutely superb. Now, some of the stuff in the Age of Arthur one wasn't perhaps my jam, but the fact that it was there and it was available to people who do like that kind of thing, absolutely fantastic. If you are wanting to dip into a new period and you're not sure, do yourself a favour, buy the Age of Arthur book. It is absolutely superb. Second choice, I would say, would be the Wars of the Roses one, and then perhaps the Samurai one, unless you particularly wanted to do the Samurai. Yeah, no. The Arthur one and the Wars of the Roses one, absolutely awesome books. And that's why I'm super excited for when the Napoleonic one comes out. I mean, it's one of those things of, I might be quite negative about it now. I know I'm going to simp for it when it comes out. But, no. So I'm hoping that when it does, it's one of those things that if it takes the time for the top quality, then I don't mind. And I think with the recent releases from Warlord, books-wise, they've been absolutely superb. Now, I said I'd talk about other games as well, and I want to touch on them relatively briefly because I've not really seen any new sets of Napoleonic rules coming out, or particularly on the horizon. I think the last big set we had was either Valor and Fortitude, if you want to include that one, or perhaps Soldiers of Napoleon. I've not really seen or heard much since then. I don't know if I'm just not keeping my ear to the ground enough, or you guys out there may know something, or you may even be having a set that's about to come out. So if so, then let me know. But it seems to be a relatively quiet period for Napoleonics, certainly rules-wise. Figures-wise, I think the Spanish infantry from Perry's are a big one, and the release of the Revolutionary French. Now, one of my channel members did say to me about the Victrix mid/early war French being out of stock. I have emailed them. I haven't heard back from them yet. So I am trying my best, but I have no special insights or anything like that. I've emailed them to say if they have a date for when they'll be back in stock, but they have not got back to me yet. So that's it, really. That's just I wanted to have a quick rundown of what's come out recently, because it's one of those things where these things can go under the radar quite easily. And I think we've actually had quite a few releases. The Perry Spanish, the couple of Kickstarters. We've got the epics that we can use for Epic Napoleonic as well. Little things like this that I think are... I'm almost certainly going to buy the characters for Epic as well, because they've got a Tarleton in there, so I've got to have some Tarleton action. But yeah, so I think we've actually been pretty well treated recently, although you've kind of got to dig through a little bit to see where the gold is. But no, I think the Perry Spanish, particularly the head sprue, is going to be really good. And in fact, I am going to order some of those. And some of the Wednesday night videos may well be conversions, things like cuirassiers or infantry, using those sprues. And we'll see how they go. So if you want to see how they fit in with the French, then tune in on some of the Wednesday night videos. Now, the current plan for the Wednesdays is to do them at 6 o'clock till 7, like we used to. I am looking into perhaps starting a little bit later as the summer goes on, and then finishing later. So we might do something like 7 till 9 or something like that. But we'll have to see how that one goes. But at the moment, pop it along at 6 o'clock for the live stream, and we'll get it going. I must say as well that the battery on, the charging port on my camera is absolutely knackered. So I'm going to try my best to be fully charged and ready to go. But there may be a day or two in the summer where there is a technical problem, shall we say. I do need to buy a new camera, actually, and that is something that is on my wish list this year. But I want to say thank you very much for joining me. It's a bit of a rambly one, this one, a bit of a conversational one. What do you guys think is the best release for Napoleonics in the recent months? Are you looking forward to getting your hands on some plastic Spanish? And please, 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 please let me know in the comments if Epic Napoleonics is something that you either play or would play, or would come to an event, or you wouldn't come to it, or whatever. Let me know either way, because then I can get back to Boards and Swords, and we can have a proper informed discussion about whether it's worth running an event or not. But thank you very much for listening, and I will see you guys either Wednesday, or if you can't make the live stream, I'll see you guys on Sunday. Cheers!